My fellow Chelsea supporters, welcome to the Blue Day podcast. And for Chelsea fans everywhere, every day is a blue day. Yes, we are finally doing this episode for your enjoyment. And I am your host, the man with a face for podcasting, Keith Lawrence. On the show today, we will be reviewing the last two games that were held at Stamford Bridge against Rennes and Sheffield United respectively. We will have a bit of a laugh at Arsenal TV and we will explain why and mention our upcoming guest. You may have heard of him. His name is Ron Harris. But to join me today is my special co-host. He is the Londoner living at large up north. He is a man who hates agents. Plus, he is a man who spends nights in cars. He's your friend of mine. He's Warren. Warren, welcome to the show.
Yeah, thank you very much for that glowing reference. I'm still having nightmares about that. Maybe I'll have to do a little snippet one day where I explain that. It is quite funny, but that's for another day. Today is all about, like you say, it being another blue day. A couple of really positive results for us to discuss on the show, as well as our upcoming guest, Chopper Harris, which we're obviously extremely excited about. But yes, great to be here as always. Sorry that it's a day later than usual. Where I've had a busy weekend for obvious reasons, and so has Keith. So apologies for it being a day late, but thanks very much for tuning in as always.
Yes, we'd like to thank our American listeners, who some will probably be enjoying the election results. But Warren, let's begin, shall we, with the two games that were held at Stamford Bridge against Rennes in the Champions League and Sheffield United in the Premier League. I have my notes in front of me right here. So, Warren, shall we start with the midweek game?
Yeah. Well, first of all, we'll start sort of, as we usually do, with sort of the starting 11. Really pleased to see Reece James in now. I think that gives us... I love Dave being at right back, don't get me wrong. No issue with Dave at all. But I did like Reece James starting. I think it showed real intent. I was quite interested to see Kante, Jorginho, Mount again. Again, Mount, this socks off like he does every week. But he's also... There was 4, 5 or 6 really, really strong characteristics of Mason Mount last season. It was his work ethic, his positioning in attacking plays, his ability to break up the ball, linking up the play, his ability to play in one or two positions, his passing ability, obviously his engine, as always. And I was looking forward to seeing him progress and develop with them sort of skill traits that he has. But what's amazing about Mason Mount this season is that he's actually managed to find 2 or 3 more. He's now spreading the ball 50, 60 yards and not just pinging it about the place for the sake of it. There's real intent and accuracy, and the way he drills the ball long, and now the way that he's coming, taking the ball off of the defence as well as linking to the front three as well. Mason Mount is becoming an absolutely pivotal member of the Chelsea team, and he was fantastic against Rennes that night. Obviously, Thiago Silva played, which I wasn't necessarily anticipating. I quite fancied Rudiger to start, so I was a bit surprised that Silva started, but really solid game. Mendy looking solid again. And yeah, really, I've been called in for Tammy, Timo, and then one other winger at least to sort of, that's the sort of front three that I've been looking at, and that Frank sort of been working towards, I believe. And they all played well as well. Ziyech was good. Werner put his penalties away well. I was really pleased to see Tammy get his goal. What did you think of the starting lineup, Keith? From sort of Mendy through Zuma through Jorginho, who was class again. Early booking, and Jorginho really showed a lot of discipline. I know it was an easier game because of the red card, but what did you make of the lineup?
Well, the Rennes game with the starting 11, it showed that Rennes were there to be beaten, and Frank is taking every game as the cup fight, in my opinion, with the team selection. He's not swapping and changing 5-6 changes every week, which shows that he has faith in the majority of his squad, unlike some managers in the Big Six. James is grown into a man. Mason Mount is grown into a man. And I will be very surprised if those two go anywhere to any other club
in the next 10 years.
Easily in the next 10 years. James has showed such maturity at right back.
For the whole time that someone like Frank Lampard is at the club, Reece James and Mason Mount, I don't think they'll be going anywhere. Certainly not until there are genuinely really, really better options. So if you imagine in 5 years' time, if Mason Mount is playing in a consistent role, the only time I could ever imagine him leaving if there was somebody better that came along. And I don't know how many people are going to be better than him in the next 5 years.
Exactly. So it's a real positive. It is a shame for me personally to see Azpilicueta on the bench giving up all the time, but
when you've got Reece James, I think that if it was, if there was a young right back that was coming through attention in the world as a Reece James and all the rest of it, but he wasn't quite ready, I think Azpilicueta would still be in the starting lineup. I think that if Reece James was injured or had a dip in form, or for whatever reason, if Reece James wasn't in the side for 2 months, I wouldn't be disappointed that Azpilicueta played for 2 months at all. But I think that it's important for Reece James. I think Reece James not only deserves a chance, he really has proved that he's good enough on a consistent basis now that, like you say, Keith, quite correctly, that for the next 10 Azpilicueta is not going to be Chelsea's right back, Reece James is. And I think Azpilicueta understands that. It's very similar to when Conte came and John Terry was captain for the season, and Conte pulled him to the side and said, with Cahill, Azpilicueta and David Luiz, it's working so well, I can't put you in the team. And John Terry just accepted it. And the way that Azpilicueta is accepting it, you mentioned before about Azpilicueta's professionalism when it came to the penalty against Crystal Palace, and Tammy wanted to take it, and Georgie, and Azpilicueta came in as the professional, experienced captain of the club that he is, and he's continued to behave like that. I mean, yeah. Absolutely, I agree, Keith. I feel devastated personally for Azpilicueta that he's on the bench, in the same way that I'm disappointed for Alonso personally, because I like him that he's on the bench. But with Reece James and Chilwell, there is little competition for who should be in the team at the minute.
Well, we will talk about Chilwell later on, especially for the Sheffield United game. But I want to touch on Tammy performances against Rennes and Sheffield United. A stat that I've just was brought to my attention, actually, by somebody who texted me over on Thursday. Tammy Abraham is the first player for Chelsea to score in 3 consecutive Champions League starts since Frank Lampard in 2008.
Well, there you go.
I thought Tammy's performance was outstanding against Rennes, and I'll touch on a little bit against Sheffield United. His overall game has improved. A bit like James and Mount, he's improved. I wouldn't expected him last season to lead the line in an aggressive target man stature. He's doing that now.
Yes. We discussed this early on in the season, Keith. You had your reservations, as I think a lot of, not just Chelsea fans, I think a lot of professional pundits and people in the game also had the same reservations about Tammy leading the line in that way. I felt that I saw enough last season that if he could develop as much as he needed to, which was quite a lot of development, but I saw enough there. And I think what's helping him is having Werner and Havertz and Ziyech and Pulisic around him and Mount, all these people, and Reece James as well, and Ben Chilwell as well, the defensive players that are going down the wings that are bringing so much to us with our shape going forward and stuff. I think he's benefited massively from the players around him, and he's progressed. So if you put the two together, it's kind of, it's the perfect timing, really. And he's working really hard, and he was extremely professional early in the season when he didn't get straight into the team, and he keeps scoring goals and he keeps linking the play. And one thing I do want to touch on about the Rennes games, obviously Werner put both his penalties away really well. The second penalty that led to the red card.
No, we should discuss this. Warren, I shall let you take the floor on this one, because I know we discussed it during the week. And obviously you're more sort of angry and sort of, you've got your issues about it than I have. So Warren, lead the way.
Absolutely, yeah. Thank you very much. I think what it is, Keith, for me is, and this is not something that I've pondered on for a week. This was my live reaction, as proven by the YouTube video that was up. If you're not aware of that, head over to the Blue Day podcast on YouTube and see the reactions on there. They're they're all in playlists and stuff, so they're pretty easy to find. They're in the live reactions. And to Werner's second goal, I said straight away that before they even showed the replay, I said it looks extremely harsh, and if they've given this for the reason I think it has, then there's nothing else. And we try on the Blue Day podcast to not mention VAR too much, but I did mention it quite extensively in a rant about Tottenham the week before. And what I am is very fair. And it was never a penalty, and it was the most shocking decision. And the fact that he's gone and VAR have checked it, and then he's gone and checked it, and there's like all these people around the world that are laughing, saying, "Can you imagine they're checking this?" And he's given it, and then he's given it as a second yellow card and sent him off, and it killed the game for Rennes. And it killed the game from a neutral point of view. And don't get me wrong, I also said this in the live reaction. I couldn't give a shit. Let's bury it and let's win the game. Let's get the 3 points. But it was an awful decision. And I was very, very disappointed that it was given. And like I said, I don't want to dwell too much on it, as I wouldn't want to if it went against Chelsea either. Because in this instance, it went for us in a massive way. But it was an awful decision. Something has to be done. Something has to be changed. West Ham's game against Fulham this weekend, they scored a goal that, because of the interpretation of the rules, was given and probably wouldn't normally have been given and probably shouldn't have been given. And in fact, and I'm not sure that I've ever said this, but credit to David Moyes for coming out after the game and saying that it shouldn't have been a goal. If the roles were reversed, we'd be calling for offside. So I think that it's a pretty unanimous decision within football at the minute, the change regarding the rules and VAR and everything. And it was, I can only apologise for what it's worth to Rennes for being the victims of it. But at the same time, I would have done the same as Timo. I would have got up and tried my best to smash the ball in the back of the net, and I'd have taken the 3 points, and I would have been ruthless, and I'm glad that we were. And it led to a very comfortable performance in the second half, Tammy getting his goal, and being able to make a few substitutions, take off foot off the pedal a little bit, and be in complete control of our destiny for qualifying from our group. It's looking very, very good now. So all in all, very, very positive, but that was a huge negative for me.
The only thing I thought was a bit of a dampener was Seville winning. Because at the time, Seville and Krasnodar were drawing, and I'm, looking at the table, how it could be, Chelsea having that lead at the top at this stage would have been fantastic. And we go back on Lampard's team selection, it would be nice. Gone are the days where we used to qualify after match day 4 and then 5 and 6, it was all about rotation.
Well, no, but this is the thing. If we beat Rennes in our 4th game, we qualify. So, and do you know what? We've got a much better, we've got a good goal difference at the minute. I can see us continuing that, especially in the home game against Krasnodar. I think Sevilla are more likely. I don't think they necessarily will be. Sevilla are an extremely strong side, as we saw at Stamford Bridge earlier on in the campaign. But I think Sevilla are perhaps more likely to be a bit more inconsistent. I fancy they maybe dropping a point against Krasnodar or Rennes, and I also fancy us to go out and beat Seville. So, it was like, so in a perfect world, Sevilla would have drawn or lost or whatever, but it would have just opened the group up and given other teams a lot more to play for and stuff. I suppose I'm one of them people, Keith, that as long as we're winning, I don't care what anybody else is doing. I don't care that Leicester and Tottenham won this weekend and Man United won and whatever else. I care that Chelsea won because we done everything we could do. So as long as we're doing everything that we can do, if we would have drawn on Wednesday and Sevilla would have got a last minute equaliser, then I'd be disappointed with Sevilla's result. But because we won, I suppose I don't care, if that makes sense.
Well, because the fact that we won against Rennes was down, I thought, to one of the lethal finishes we've had at the club, I would say, since Drogba and Costa, in the Teaminator, in Timo Werner.
Yeah.
I think that every time he steps foot on a pitch, I think the Terminator theme should play. That suits him down to the ground. He is lethal.
Do you know the thing?
Absolutely
with
lethal. Go on, Warren.
Do you know what I think about Timo? Sorry to cut you in there, Keith, but going along with that, what I think about Timo is he's playing nowhere near his best.
No. That's absolutely right.
I really don't.
Absolutely
and
right.
maybe a little bit of that is to his position where he's playing and incorporating Tammy in the team, because I think that it's not just about getting Tammy in the team, it's then about linking all of the front three with the players around it. And I think with Tammy and Werner in the same, I think that I said earlier on in the season, and I agreed with you, Keith. You said before on a previous podcast that you think Timo Werner should be our number 9, our centre forward. And I think that is his best position. I think that's where we probably would get the best out of him. However, I think that getting the most out of Werner that you can, him being there. Once you link that with a Tammy or a Giroud, with a Ziyech or a Pulisic and a Mount or a Havertz or both, and a Jorginho and everything else that goes with it that we've been discussing for weeks and weeks and weeks, I think there's a much, much, much better balance to our team. I still feel that we will see more of Timo. I still think that he's going to get better in the position that he's playing. I still think we haven't seen the best of him there yet. But yes, I agree with you that his best position for himself is centre forward. His best position for the club is probably out on the left, coming inside or on the right. Do you know, he could play anywhere.
Well, he could even play on the right.
Oh, yeah.
He has done that before for Leipzig. He
could play a false 9 role. Can you imagine him playing 45 yards from goal for 40 minutes and then all of a sudden spinning in behind at the back and he'd be in on goal 45 yards out and no one's going to catch him? You know, it's like, you know, he could almost play like a Firmino. He's got the technique and the brain to do it. I just think that the thing is, he's playing as well as he is and he still hasn't fully adjusted to the Premier League. I mean, in 6 months' time, I'd love to... Well, I think... He's only going to get better. I'm really excited about Timo. And then obviously he continued that form onto Saturday. So
we're going to talk about Saturday very, very soon. But I just want to finish off with the Champions League game. I looked at all the teams that are in there. I watched the highlights through BT Sport.
Excuse me.
Excuse you. I had to mute one of the days because they had the King Penis of punditry on with his nonsense. I looked at all the teams that are in the competition.
Yes.
And then I looked at our game more closely. So I've watched the Chelsea-Rennes game in depth 3 times.
Yeah.
People will think I'm bonkers. I know I'm bonkers. But I don't see any reason why we can't win this season. When you compare where Madrid are at the moment, Barcelona are at the moment, Bayern Munich are up there at the moment, but
still prone to the odd one.
They are still prone to the odd result.
Yeah.
City and Liverpool.
As are we, in fairness. I think, you know, in looking at it from both sides, as are we potentially, but yeah, absolutely.
Man City, Liverpool, you know, they're not pulling any strings at the moment. We're going to talk about the Premier League in a minute.
We could beat Man City and Liverpool.
Juventus, I think they've lost their spark a little bit. I think Ronaldo's getting older and I think that's showing.
PSG don't look the same without Silva.
PSG do not look the same at all. And there's even talk of their manager getting sacked.
Yeah. I think there's going to possibly be such talk in January about Neymar and Mbappe as stuff as well. I think that they're going to be on the move next summer and that's all going to start in a way in January.
So, and again, I'm not saying we're the finished article. I'm not saying at all that we're favourites and we should be considered favourites. But I think we should be considered as contenders. I
think that we're a bit of a dark horse.
Yes.
You know, Lyon last season in seasons gone by, you know, you've looked at certain perhaps Eastern European or Russian teams that have done quite well. And I'm not comparing us to them because I think we're better, but I'm just saying, you know, a bit like a Porto under Mourinho and
Leipzig.
You know, a bit of a dark...
Ajax.
Yes, exactly. Leipzig, Ajax, you know, very, very good examples. Lyon, I really enjoyed watching Lyon last season. In that mini Champions League tournament that they had, obviously they played sort of 3 games quite close together. And it was all on TV, so I managed to... And I don't catch too much of the French league these days because of the competitive depth in the league. But Lyon looked really, really good. And I remember Pep complimenting them quite a lot over a couple of seasons, and they had like the same manager and the same sort of setup for a couple of years. Good side, Lyon.
So that's a Champions League out the way with for now. You know, it'll be interesting.
Positive result, wasn't it?
Huge positive result. You know, and even the performance was fantastic. Evidently, rolled over to Saturday.
Yes.
Now, Warren, I know you didn't watch the game live because you was indisposed, shall we say?
Well, I was at work. Well, to be fair, like I was at work technically earlier that day.
You was, but as you rightfully said to me afterwards, there was no way you was going to make the game. However, I made notes because I watched the game in its entirety, unlike some people. Sheffield United.
No. I have watched the game back in its entirety. From minute 0 to 94 or whatever it was.
Did it take you a whole day to get home?
I didn't watch it until 2:30, 3 o'clock Sunday afternoon.
You sure it weren't Monday morning?
No, it was definitely Sunday afternoon. I'd had about 3 hours sleep.
3 hours sleep, but how many pints did you have?
I don't know.
Warren, my thoughts on the Sheffield United game. The starting 11.
Just the one change.
Just the one change. Didn't make any major difference though.
Kovacic in for Jorginho. Yes.
The defence looks more assured.
Little bit. Sorry, Kick. Just a little bit switched off for the first one. However, it was a nice move. It was a nice move from Sheffield United. They'd worked on that, and do you know what? It's very, very easy, right? Especially when I know that we've been better at the back recently, but it's very, very easy to point out, especially when a team has had its moments. Oh, that was a bit poor from the defence. But, and I'm not just being positive, if I'm just looking at it from a football fan's point of view, what a lovely goal from Sheffield United. You know, it was a really well worked move. It was a nice stick at the end as well.
I hated
Pardon?
it.
Well,
I hated it. It was shit.
No, it wasn't bad defending though, I don't think. A little bit switched off perhaps, but it was a really nice move from Sheffield United. We can say that. We won 4-1.
It was great to see Kante as the anchor man.
Yes.
Front three have been affected so far. Let's keep it going. That was my first note before the kickoff.
Yes. Fluency.
During the game, I thought we started well, but we wasn't clinical. Mm-hmm. We switched off from a cross.
We were slightly sloppy in the first 20 minutes, weren't we? Mm. Yeah.
We switched off from the cross, and now we have a problem. So I'm expecting a reaction. I'm expecting Frank to stick a rocket up their arses.
Yeah.
But I knew that this is a Sheffield United side that is different from last season. Same players, but it's different.
They're fragile, aren't they?
They are conceding goals easily. So I knew that we was going to get back into the game.
Yeah.
We go 2-1 up quite quickly.
Yeah.
Through Tammy's scuff shot and Chilwell's little flinch. But it
I was going to say, there was two really odd goals actually, because Tammy's goal was ironically really well taken, even though he almost completely mishit it. But, you know, apart from the fact that he mishit it, he got every single thing else right. He was aiming for the right point. He was trying to hit it into the ground to volley it in that way, but just not the way he hit it. Chilwell's goal, he's trying to do the right thing and he's in the right place and everything. But the two main points about the goal were Ziyech's involvement and seeing Kovacic making that run in behind. That's something that I have not seen too often. Kovacic running beyond the last centre back. From Ziyech for Tammy's goal, Ziyech played the ball over the top. That beautiful ball. That's the ball that Jorginho wants to play, but we can now play it with one less pass. Because he hasn't got to pass it inside, he just plays it over. And the perfection of the pass was orgasmic. It was absolutely beautiful. But Kovacic making that run beyond the last centre-back, being the furthest forward.
That's
Chelsea
not
play,
his game, which is a surprise, because he didn't do that much at Real Madrid.
We haven't seen that in his game so much. That's not to say it's not his game. You know, it's like John Obi Mikel played within himself for a lot of years to do a job, and maybe Kovacic has kind of been the same. And maybe now you're noticing it with Mount and Kovacic and Jorginho, they've let their shackles go. Before they were slightly restrained because they was all a little bit restrained because Kante could go forward as well. And he still does in the right moment, but in a defensive kind of way almost. Now that Kante's just sitting, Mount and Kovacic and Jorginho can just do what they do best. And the balance to the team is just unreal. This is why I always said Kante ain't going nowhere, because everyone's going to play around him. This is why I said Tammy's going to go nowhere, because everyone's going to play around him.
I thought Tammy, as we said on Wednesday, Tammy was so effective as a striker, and he's given Frank food for thought. Whether I think he's his starting man at the minute. At the moment, yeah. I was just about to say that. The Teaminator, for me, his first touch outside the penalty area, not just against Sheffield United, but I think over this season, I have mentioned this to you before, I think his overall first touch is not very good. It doesn't stick.
I don't think he's trying to make it stick, though. I think that what he's trying to do is he's trying to take a pass and move as he's taking the ball, because he wants the momentum to go past a defender. And I just think at the moment, because it's a little bit quicker in the Premier League, it's just that little. But do you know what it does? His little seemingly poor touches every now and then seem to lead to penalties.
Yes,
because he's so quick to adjust. His feet are so quick to adjust. I mean, I totally agree. There's a lot of times that we're in good positions and maybe he takes a slightly bad touch and then he ends up with a bad angle and stuff, and maybe he loses the ball. And yeah, in an ideal world, he'd cut that out a little bit. But he's, if he's the kind of striker that if he misses one chance, he takes the next one.
Which is what he did on Saturday.
Correct.
Warren, another stat I have for you. So 2 stats on one episode. That's not bad, is it, for research? Not bad, is it? At one point in the second half, our overall possession was 82%. And I thought, yes, Sheffield United are bottom. We're free-flowing. We're on form. But I'm going back to your style of thinking.
Yeah.
We didn't beat Sheffield United at all last season.
Exactly. I thought back and I thought exactly the same thing, Keith. Yeah. And we didn't beat Sheffield United last season. And the last time we played Sheffield United, we lost 3-0 and we got off to a bad start and been a bit sloppy. And it was exactly the same as that. But it was, even though I knew the result when I watched it, I still at no point watching it felt like, last season I felt like we probably would have lost that game. Last season, that was a classic West Ham or a Bournemouth or a Southampton performance that we would go on and lose 1-0 and it would have been very similar or the same under Sarri or something, So it's just, it is changing. It is changing. And all of a sudden it's just, everything that I said would come true has.
Not all of it, and we will discuss that. However,
there's still time.
There is still time. I want to talk about Thiago's goal.
Yes.
And Graham Souness and Ashley Cole mentioned it on Sky, and I actually wrote it down before they mentioned it, so I have the proof. Zuma, very clever play with his blocking of Silva's marker. Now, Chris Wilder, the Sheffield United manager, said that was a foul. VAR should have reviewed it, should have been disallowed. For me, bollocks.
Okay. This is my point. Sorry to cut you in there, Keith.
No, go on.
But that's very relevant. I'm very, very glad that you noticed that, because I didn't realise that Souness and Ashley Cole and Wilder had sort of commented and stuff. Especially I didn't realise Chris Wilder had specifically mentioned it, because this is where I felt that David Moyes was particularly fair with his point, because what a lot of managers do is come out and say this about VAR and say this about that decision and make reference points to other matches and stuff like that to sort of mask over what happened. What about in the first half with Ziyech's delivery and Tammy Abraham being pulled all over the place? Why is Wilder not saying, well, VAR should have checked that, which they did, and why did they not give a penalty? So it's got to be balanced. So if Chris Wilder wants to go on about that should have been a this and that should have been a that, like it was going to change the game and Sheffield United were going to win 5-2 from that point instead of losing 4-1, then he can go fuck himself, because he's talking out of his arse. And I like Chris Wilder. He's done a fantastic job at Sheffield United. But that comment, why is he not? He's got to balance it out. And I know that he's got to go out there and stick up for his team. And there's certain things that he's got to say to, keep the unity and stuff. And he's going to say things that he knows are going to piss people off. And he kind of has to accept that it's kind of his job. And maybe that's why he said it. But it's got to be fair. And that's why I really appreciated David Moyes coming out and saying what he said. Because if you look at the balance on what the other manager's talking about, he's talking about, that was it a foul? Was it not? Okay, there's a debate. Tammy's was a penalty.
I will like to make a point. Hakeem's cross for the third goal, fabulous.
Yeah,
utterly fabulous.
His vision in his left foot.
The chance that Timo had where he lobbed the goalkeeper and went wide.
Did he touch that? I was laid in bed watching it. I was a bit far from the telly.
I don't think he did.
That? Did he not?
No, I don't think he did.
Okay.
But the build-up to it...
I was sat far back from the telly. I didn't really...
The build-up to it, if that goal went in, that would have been perfect. It would have been the creme de la creme of goals this weekend. It was just unlucky. But he did finish one. And Warren, I just want to make a point on this. And this is why I do particularly think that he is... I'm now going to call him the Teaminator. It was a fabulous finish, but his run to start off with, to say, I'm going to outpace this defender, fuck you, I'm going to win this ball.
Yeah.
For me, that showed aggression, that showed desire, and the way he finished, And even his celebration, for me, that's a sign of a champion.
Do you know what I would like Sky or B? It's not something, unfortunately, I don't think would be very readily available information-wise for us, but I'd like Sky or BT to show Timo Werner's acceleration, the rate at which he accelerates in the 10th minute or in the first 10 minutes compared to the last 10 minutes, because there's no doubt that a defender that's getting moved around a lot, he's going to have a certain amount of fatigue and his legs are going to be like a little bit heavy or whatever. And even if he can accelerate pretty quickly, Van Dijk can accelerate very quickly at the end of a match, or Robertson or Trent Alexander-Arnold. I'd like to see how much they drop off in a very intense game compared to Timo Werner, because he looks quicker at the end of the match than the start, and that's still fade. He's unbelievably fit, the boy. He's like Mason Mount in that sense, or a Kante. They look the same at the end of a match. Reece James is very similar. They look the same at the end of a match as they did at the start. They're unbelievably fit. We created a lot of chances against Sheffield United as well. Did we have about 20 odd shots?
Something in the region of that, absolutely.
750 plus passes, nearly a 90% pass accuracy, conceded very few fouls. I thought it was very, very good. I thought it was a bit unlucky to not get the clean sheet. Maybe we should mention that. Mendy conceding his first Premier League goal, wasn't it?
Yeah, little bit annoyed with it, but I will forget about that because we scored 4.
We'll take a clean sheet in the next one.
This was my final thought on the Sheffield United game. And you did actually touch bases on it, so which is great. It was a fantastic win. To come from 1-0 down in any game in the Premier League in this day and age shows character. Now the teams around us are probably going to look at us and go, oh shit, they've still got Havertz to come back. They've got Pulisic to come back. Hudson-Odoi off the bench.
Jorginho didn't play.
And we're going to sort of touch on it complete this segment. But Warren, I asked you about the Champions League. I thought that there was a chance we could win it. There's no reason why we can't win the Premier League this season. I know it's going to sound crazy to some because people will go, oh, here we go. Plastic Chelsea fans, we win 1 week and they think that I'm looking at our team.
Yeah.
I look at how Frank is developing the young pups who are now turning into men. But I'm also looking at the teams around us. I fear Leicester more than I do Tottenham. City, what have you got this season?
Well, Leicester have been there and done it. Tottenham haven't.
Man City, what have you got? Is the manager going to be really...
Is he going to leave?
Well, that's exactly what I'm saying. Is he going to want to stay? Because his contract's up at the end of the season.
Is he going to only stay if they get Messi or something?
Jurgen Klopp, how long Van Dijk out for? Could be till the end of the season. Could be until start of next season. We don't know. Man United are nowhere near. I would say we are better than Man United at this moment in time. Yeah. Arsenal, we're going to talk about them in a minute. They're not even... I actually fear Wolves and Brighton more than I do Arsenal at this moment. So, Warren, again, this is going to sound bonkers to some. I am not drinking, honest. I think we could win the league this season.
Yeah,
it wouldn't surprise me if we don't. It would not surprise me if we don't.
Yeah, I think that we're closer to winning the league. I still think that we're at where I expected us to be at in terms of our progression and how well we've started to play and how we've sorted things out. I did say early on in the season when we was having some negative results and negative performances and a lot of negative comments about and around the club and the players and the manager and stuff and individual players and as a team, I did say that I saw us turning the corner and getting to kind of where we're at now. I think what's helped is the fact that, like you say, Man City and Liverpool and certain other teams are not blowing the league away like they did last season. So I think that we're closer because of the situation of other teams not running away with it. So I think a combination of them two things as being in a vision of we was that far away, now we're only half as far away, but we've only got 25% better, but the rest of the league might be a bit worse as well. So it sort of brought us in even more. And there are a lot of random results going on. I watched the Liverpool City game yesterday, and Liverpool were probably the better side still, even without Van Dijk and stuff. So maybe I'm a little bit more fearful of Liverpool than I am City. Liverpool have already got a few more points on the board and stuff. I agree with the other teams. Like I say, Leicester have been there and done it. Tottenham haven't. They'll drop off. They'll get an injury or two, I should imagine, or they'll get bored of playing for Mourinho like most people do. So I don't fear them. And Arsenal, like you're going to talk about now, the Arsenal TV. I tell you what, you need to check that out on YouTube and that. I mean, you need to obviously get over to the Blue Day podcast and see all the reactions and see the obviously with this podcast will be out this week on YouTube and iTunes and Facebook and everything. So find us on there, the Blue Day podcast. But the Arsenal TV one, it was pretty funny because the funny thing was I kind of agreed with everything that they were saying, and that's what was really funny. That's what because you know when a fan is going to take the piss out of it. Like I know we sort of like have good banter and stuff, but we don't necessarily really directly go at a team and take the piss and like dissect their performance and take the piss. But if we was to sit here and take the piss out of Arsenal's performance against Aston Villa, almost trying to make like a I don't even know, just like a joke video saying like, oh, this is what we would do if we was just to take the piss out of a team's performance. That's what the Arsenal fans are doing. Because they just absolutely ripped every single segment of the club to pieces in the most hilarious way.
For those of you that are probably wondering why we are discussing them Herberts over at North London, and for those who have never seen Arsenal Fan TV, we're not plugging them. We're not saying go by all means spend 5-10 minutes of your life watching them. But if you've got at least if you've got at least 2 to 3 minutes and you need a laugh, go on Arsenal Fans TV after a defeat. They are the most idiotic, stupid Herberts I've ever come across on social media. These kind of people, and I'm not sort of shouting, my God, I've got a frog in my throat. I'm not giving Arsenal any praise at all, but Arsenal Fans TV is a disease on Arsenal Football Club, because for me, that's not proper Arsenal fans talking. They're doing it to get ratings. They're doing it to get reviews. You know, I know a couple of Arsenal fans, they can't stand that channel. They can't stand the people there. And it's funny to watch them when they lose. And it's like, the thing that got my goat was someone sent me the video of them after the FA Cup final when they beat us. They're laughing that Christian Pulisic got injured, and they're saying, oh, let him die. Let him break his leg. He's no good. We'll never have him at our squad. We're better and all this shit. We take the piss out of people, Warren. I would never wish any ill will to anybody. You know, that's not my style. That's not what the Blue Day podcast is about. We would take the piss out of people, but we'll never go down that strength. And they can give it, but they can't receive it. And for me, and I know, you know, I don't want to talk too much about them, but for me, they're just a pile of wankers, if I'm being perfectly honest. You know, Warren, you mentioned it as well to me earlier, that they go and beat Man United last week. Yeah. And all they're talking about is, oh, that doesn't matter now because we've lost today. That doesn't matter. It's just a lack of intelligence with that cluster of people. Warren, I mean, I know you might have a comment for me, but Jesus Christ, these are the kind of people for me that are bringing certain clubs down. And I think,
well, my comment on it is that I don't want to talk about individual people. I don't want to talk about individual people. Like I said, I found it quite funny because they kind of reviewed it as you would imagine a Tottenham fan would review it, just completely taking the piss and dissecting the whole game. I wasn't aware of the interview where they wished injury on Pulisic, and if they wished that he broke his leg, obviously that's just like ridiculous. But no, I wouldn't necessarily talk about them personally. Necessarily, they can do whatever they want, and you know their audience will be. Listen, you get the type of audience for the show that you put on the Blue listeners. In fact, I know the Blue Day listeners are a lot more intelligent than that, and they would never you know what I mean, they're much more on our wavelength on what we're trying to do. But yeah, they can do whatever they want. Like I said, I viewed it because it was funny, because it was like two Tottenham fans reviewing an Arsenal game, just as they sort of like, it was like they was taking the piss just constantly. And yeah, they did completely blow over the fact that they went to Man United and got a result. They was like, oh, that doesn't matter now. And it's like, well, no, the 3 points are still on the board. You still went there and won. And yeah, they had an awful performance against Villa, but yeah, no, I wouldn't necessarily, like, I don't even know what their names are. It's the only thing that I've ever really seen of them. But yeah, it was a bit.
Well, that Robbie, who I believe created Arsenal Fans TV, he's a smart guy, because he obviously saw a loophole in podcasting and radio and audio transmission. Yeah. So he's obviously got a loophole and he's made money out of it. So good luck to him on that. Yeah. But the Herberts he's got with him, I'm sorry, he's an intelligent guy. He's got money. He can find other intelligent people.
But I mean, I suppose it's specific to what works. I suppose that this guy Robbie, and again, I don't know anything about Robbie. I don't know anything about Arsenal Fans TV, so I can't speak of any experience on it. But like you say, he found a gap in the market and he filled it. But I mean, I suppose you're saying that he could get different people on. Absolutely, I suppose he could. He could get people on there that sort of try and review the games a little bit differently and try to analyse it a little bit more professionally, rather than just saying, yeah, well, he's a load of fucking shit, isn't he? Rather than saying that, we try and, like, you know, analyse. But then why would he sort of change what works if that's the audience that he's appealing to? Like I say, I'm glad that he's appealing to that audience, because then it leaves us with the audience that we want, and we can fill the hole in our market. You know, he's filled a hole in a market sort of almost somewhere else, even though it's the same principle and it's about the same thing. We're just hopefully approaching it in hopefully just a better way, in a way that our listeners prefer, rather than, and yeah, we do take the piss and we have a rant and we have a bit of banter, but yeah, anyway, like, I don't watch it. I don't ever watch any of it. There are certain things from other clubs that I watch because I'm interested in their results and stuff, or certain players. Fuck Arsenal Fans TV.
Yeah,
fuck Arsenal.
Fuck Arsenal TV. You know, if you've got, like I said, if we don't intend to plug them. If they get another 10,000 listeners because of us, fine, fuck them. But
if we've got 10,000 listeners to give away, then happy days. Like, I mean, I don't mind sharing. We can all have 10,000 each. Happy days.
We've got people from America listening in. We've got people from Australia listening into our show now. We've got people in Italy now that are now listening to us. So, yeah, if you want to listen to intelligent banter about football, stay on the Blue Day podcast. Warren,
stay on for just another 4 days. Just another
I'll let you
4
start
days. Just another 4 days as of recording today. Obviously, we do have the great Ron Chopper Harris on this Friday. We're extremely excited about it. It's going to be on all the links and everything. It will be on all our usual social media. So check out the Facebook and the Instagram. It will be on iTunes and YouTube and everything. It will be in the playlist for the podcasts. This coming Friday, where me and Keith are, well, I'm still excited and I just can't wait. You know what? I can't wait for everyone to have listened to it so that I can then talk to you guys, having not with no spoiler alerts, because you would have heard it. So it's like, I'm excited for that again. So yeah, that's coming out this Friday, November the 13th. So give us all your feedback on it. Let us know. You know, email us bluedaypodcast@gmail.com. We really, really look forward to reading those. I know that me and Keith check our social media and the email and everything good couple of times a day, don't we, Keith, to make sure that we're on top of everything. And so yeah, get in touch. How are you feeling, Keith?
I'm excited.
Yeah.
That for a podcast of our small little stature at the moment, but we are growing, to have Ron Harris as a first guest, first ex-player guest.
Yes.
Just fantastic. It was something that I wasn't expecting to happen straight off the bat when I first thought about the idea of this podcast. No way did I think we would get Ron Harris as a first ex-player guest, but we have. And we've only been going since September.
Yes.
So really, really grateful for Ron Harris to give us his time with that.
Our development is on par with the Chelsea football team. The better they get, the better we get.
Hopefully, my fellow Chelsea supporters, you get to join us on Friday when the episode will be up for the Ron Harris interview with the Blue Day podcast. That will be up on iTunes, YouTube, looking to get it on Facebook as well, so keep an eye out for that one. And yeah, it's going to be such a pivotal day for me personally as a Chelsea fan since '97. For you, Warren, so this will be something huge as well. You know, so actually thinking about it, it's actually got me lost for words, to be honest, because it's just, my mind's still trying.
That's why I turned over to you. I was like, oh, what else do I say other than, My
mind's still sort of trying to sink it all in, really. But the one thing I do want to actually touch on as well, I would like to thank, and if he is actually listening to this, then fair play to him. I would actually like to thank a former Chelsea player who has endorsed the Blue Day podcast, who's actually shared the Blue Day podcast on his social media account, and that is one Sam Dalabona. If you do not find him on Instagram, he is easy to find. He's endorsed the Blue Day podcast. There are many other Instagram accounts that are linked with the Blue Day podcast that have liked and shared our posts and they are actually looking forward to our episode with Ron Harris.
I believe it was it the Chelsea Retro on Instagram?
Chelsea Retro.
I know that yes.
Chelsea Rewind.
That's right. Yes, I know that Aaron McGrath has recently put it on his Instagram story and stuff to promote it to all his sort of friends on Instagram and everything. So thank you very much for that. Thank you very much, Chelsea Rewind, Chelsea Retro, Sam Dalabona, obviously. They're all pretty easy to find on Instagram. So, head over there and check them out. Like you said, they've been endorsing our podcast a little bit, which has been very humbling, hasn't it, Keith? It's been very nice to sort of see people appreciating the work we're doing and praising us to a certain extent. It was a very humbling experience to see people doing that. So thank you very much.
Well, our Instagram followers are going up. Our YouTube views are going up. If you haven't found our YouTube account, please find it on YouTube. We are trying to upload as much content as possible onto the YouTube channel. It is just a pain in the arse at the moment because of the lockdown that myself and Warren, who normally go to the matches, London, Leicester, Liverpool, beyond, we would have done, live videos of us outside the ground of Chelsea fans in pubs and things. That was the idea that we had going. Unfortunately, because of the lockdown, that's had to be delayed. But hopefully, in the coming months, it will most likely be next year. But in the coming months, something will change.
There are still a fair few on there of myself and Keith at games, and there's some actual goal reactions. I've got some good ones on there. Tottenham in their first game in their new toilet last season. I know you've got some really good Champions League and FA Cup ones on there. So yeah, get over there and check it out. Do you know what? It's one of them things that going to the games and you're missing the war or the crowd and stuff, and you just want to watch all things Chelsea. So just head over there and just click play and let them run through, and leave us a like and a comment if you positive or negative, funny or not. All feedback is more than welcome. We appreciate all the feedback. So yeah, get around it. It shows how much support we have for the channel, and it's, like I said, it's very humbling and very motivating for myself and Keith to see our views on YouTube and iTunes going so high and stuff. So thank you very much for that.
Well, Warren, we've actually got breaking news. I've just received a confirmation email. We've got Ron Chopper Harris on the show. I'm not going to say too much, but I can announce that we have a second guest that is now confirmed for the Blue Day podcast.
Ex-player guest.
An ex-player guest.
Yes.
It's signed, sealed, and it will be delivered.
Do I not know this? Because I'm a bit confused here. What's going on?
Oh, you know it all right.
Are you sure?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
He is a Premier League title winner with our club. And that is the only clue I will give to our listeners at this moment in time. More will be announced in the coming weeks. But I'm excited over this. And I'm hoping, and I'm not hoping, because I know that there are many, many fans that will be excited for this one. So that will come out in the next coming weeks. But Warren, At the moment, Chelsea are going well. The podcast is going well. We still want more people to subscribe on iTunes and Facebook and Instagram. But the fact that we've only been going for 2 months, it's pretty fucking decent.
Well, of course, yeah, we're brilliant. like our club. The thing is, it's hard to make. The thing is, right, content is all about subject matter, right? And Chelsea are the best. So to be honest with you, if we did anything other than the best, then it would mean that we was really, really, really shit. Because our content is brilliant to start with, because Chelsea create our content. So thank you, Chelsea, I guess. Thank you, Roman. Thank you, Frank.
I will end it on this. If our club weren't Chelsea, we'd probably end up like Arsenal TV.
Yeah.
So, on that lovely note, so just to confirm, the Ron Harris episode will be up on Friday for all you listeners. So please find it on iTunes, Instagram, anywhere you can find it. It will be uploaded. So come and join us for that one. And we will be back next week with a special episode. This is something that one of our listeners emailed us quite some time ago. And it was a question that we both thought about, but it took me a little while. It took me a good while to sit down and actually do it. When you actually really, because the process, obviously, we'll discuss the process and everything that we went through next week. But the process to arrive at the final thing was like really, really difficult. Well, next week there's no Blue Day podcast on the weekend. But next week, one day next week, we will be uploading a new episode where we will be discussing our personal best 11 for Chelsea Football Club. We might even maybe bend the rules a little bit to suit ourselves, possibly, but we will go over that. And that
was the only way around it, because I couldn't decide. The only way that we could do it was to slightly expand. It was Aaron, wasn't it, who obviously messaged
I think it was Aaron,
yes. And he sent in his team and everything, which obviously we've got on record, and we were going to refer back to that and let the listeners know again next week. But we did have to open up the question a little bit, because it was Aaron done well to pick 11, because you could have picked a different 11. It was unbelievable. And you could have picked a different 11 from the last 10 years. It was unbelievable. And with that as well, we may even add a couple of audio commentaries on there as well, just sort of pass the time away a little bit, just to sort of get the juices going for the resumption of the Premier League. We're all going to be missing in the football. It's lockdown again as well, so we're at home a lot more. We're all going to miss the regularity of club football over the next week and a half or so. So yeah, it'd be nice to have some throwbacks and bring back some memories for some people, and that's what it's all about, isn't it? Absolutely. So, Warren, I hope you have a good evening. I have been Keith Lawrence. He has been Warren. Enjoy the rest of your day and Carefree.